It is time for another Works in Progress check-in. This is our May check-in. I am filming this on June 4th. So we're gonna find out if I accomplished what I wanted to for May or if I had to let some things go. Let's start off with what you guys voted that you wanted me to finish. Now, if you didn't see last month's video, in May, I had a number of projects and I didn't particularly mind which ones I wanted to work on, so I left it up to your vote. And the way that you voted was you wanted me to finish the Jelly and Jam binding and the Lone Star quilt blocks. If you haven't seen that video, I'm gonna link to it so that you can go take a peek and see if those are the same choices that you would have made, or maybe you wanted me to finish the other projects. So, did I finish them? Let's talk about that. First of all, Jelly and Jam binding is done. I am happy to report that this quilt finally has binding on after many years. It is a completed quilt. I used one of the gingham stripes from the Flour Mill collection. This whole quilt is made using Flour Mill. And I had bought bolts of this stripe in all of the colors that I offered it in for this collection because I just love this stripe so much. I am down to maybe 1 yard left of this multi-stripe because it works so well with so many of my collections. So we'll check this one off the list. Jelly and Jam quilt, finally done, finally can be used and enjoyed. So woohoo! That's exciting to finish that one. Okay, Lone Star quilt blocks. These took a little bit of a different direction than what I was thinking, because if you look here, I still have quilt blocks. Now, I had intended, it's maybe been 2 weeks or so, I laid all of these out with the intention of sewing them all together into a completed quilt top, which was my goal based on how you guys voted last month. But I laid them out. I had thought I might put them on point. One of you suggested sewing them together on point. I thought that was a great suggestion. So I started laying them out and I just wasn't feeling the love. I don't know if you've ever gone back to a work in progress and your heart's just not in it any longer. Sometimes that happens, and I think that's okay. For any number of reasons, we might decide that we no longer want to work on a project. Maybe it's been long enough that we don't like the fabrics as much anymore, or maybe we don't need it any longer for the reason that we had been previously making it. Can be any number of reasons that we don't want to finish a project. And as I was laying this out, I realized that I just did not feel like I wanted to sew this together. And then I even went a little bit further and I thought, well, once it's a completed quilt, I don't even know if it's going to be one that we're going to really get a lot of use out of. And when you're making a quilt, you want it to be something that is going to be loved and used. And so I decided that I am going to give all of these blocks away to someone who wants them and who wants to turn them into a quilt. So on my blog, when you guys are watching this video, the giveaway may be ended, but I decided that I was going to give away the blocks to someone who commented on my blog that they wanted these blocks. So if that giveaway is still going when the video goes up, I will link to it in the description. So if any of you want a shot at grabbing some of these blocks, you have that opportunity. But I can't say for sure that that giveaway is still going. So take a peek in the description box if these are blocks that you would like to give a happy home to. So that's my plan for these. A little bit different, but I don't have any problem with sending blocks, quilt tops, completed quilts, whatever the case may be, onto a new home if I know that it's going to be appreciated and cared for somewhere else more than it is here. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So if you find yourself in that same situation where you have lost the love, you don't care to finish the project, you know, if you know of someone who could really use that or who really might enjoy those blocks, that project, send it on its way. There is nothing wrong with that. So those are the Lone Star blocks. As I said, that took a little bit of a different turn than what I had been thinking that it was going to, but that is going to work out just fine. One of the other things, the 5K May, that was another goal of mine for the month of May, was to either run or walk a 5K every day in the month of May. This is the third year that I have done that in May. It is something that a friend of ours set up, and People from all around the world join in and do 5Ks every day in the month of May. And so I accomplished that task. Every day, did my 5K. My husband also participates in that, and a couple years we've had my daughters on board too. This year we could not convince either one of them to do a 5K every day, which is fine. But my husband and I both completed ours for the month, and that was fun. It was fun. I couldn't say that every year, but this year I can say that it was fun, and it didn't seem like such a hard task. I remember the first year that I did it. Man, some of those runs or walks just seemed to take so long to accomplish. But this year it was a really nice time to get out, and I enjoyed them all. I think there was one day where I thought, oh, if I didn't have to do this, I probably wouldn't. But all of the other days I was happy to get out. It's a great time for me. It's more of a mental health thing maybe than a physical health thing, although of course it's both. But I really enjoy getting outside and getting away and not having to, just a little bit of time for myself. So that one went well. The last task was the sewing room cleanup. This one has me a little bit befuddled maybe. I did do quite a bit of sewing room tidying up, and it is a lot better in here. The problem that I'm running into is because we film in this room, you guys can't see it, but all around me are lights and cords, and above me cameras and microphones and everything, just sort of taking up all of this space in my sewing room. And so my husband and I have been talking a little bit about maybe setting up a more permanent studio space somewhere else, which would definitely allow me to keep my sewing room a little bit more how I'd like it to be all the time. It's a little bit difficult to kind of work around everything and keep everything, looking tidy when there's so much going on around me that's not usually in a sewing room. So that's what I mean when I say befuddled. Like, it's pretty tidy for the most part. It still needs a little bit of work, but it's all of the extra stuff that's throwing me off. It makes it a little bit harder to work in here, and it makes it harder to keep it tidy. And then the other thing that happens is as I'm working in this space, lights get moved around and cameras get moved around. And then when I want to film something, everything has to kind of be set back up a little bit, which isn't ideal. So I don't know what we're going to end up doing, if we'll end up setting up something somewhere else or how that's going to work. But that's something I have to think about in the upcoming weeks. I have really been enjoying filming these videos for you guys, and it's been really a lot of fun chatting with you in the comments. That's probably one of my favorite things about the videos, is then getting to chat with all of you. But we definitely need to come up with our filming plan if we're going to be going forward with this more often. So just something that's rolling around in the back of my head about, what do we want to do with the sewing room situation? Those were the 4 main things that I had on my May list. The other thing that I had on was my fabric deadline, which was June 1st. And I'm happy to report that that has been taken care of as well. Fabric line turned in, everything has been approved, and we are good to go until my next fabric deadline, which I think is November 1st. So I have a little bit of time before that one rolls back around again. I usually have 2 of those a year. So these fabrics, the line that I just turned in, will be in quilt shops in a little bit over a year from now. So that kind of gives you an idea of the timeline that we're working with when we design fabrics. Okay, I'm curious, did you guys get your works in progress done? Where are you at? Do you have new ones that you're setting for the summer? I'm going to talk about my plan for June, but I do wonder if you guys got yours done, checked off, or maybe not. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with not getting them done. I think it's great to set goals, but then, give yourself some leeway if you get it done or if you don't, or maybe you check some things off your list you weren't planning on and had to let some of the other things go. In any event, I would love to hear what you have to say about that. Okay, I've got all kinds of things down here in front of me that I want to talk about yet. In June, my summers look a little bit different than they do the rest of the year because I want to give myself some more free time. My girls are both home. I don't know if I really mentioned too much about them here on the channel. I have a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old. And so over the summer, we like to, do more things together, get outside, hang out. And I like to make sure that I'm not just completely overscheduled with work stuff that has to get done. So my plan for June is to just focus on regular work things, but not extra works in progress like what you saw the last couple months. The first thing, we have a Buttercup and Slate quilt along. I mentioned this briefly a couple videos back, but we have a Buttercup and Slate quilt along coming up using my Oh Happy Day book, and that's going to be kicking off later this fall. So one of the things that I would need to get done, that I'm setting up a deadline of July 1st to get done, is to cut out all of the quilt blocks for this quilt along so I can double check all of my fabric requirements so that I can get those published for everybody who wants to participate in the quilt along. The pattern is mostly written. I have a little bit of that I still need to write, but I mostly want to get everything cut out and then get that little bit of pattern writing done for that quilt along so that it is going to be in great shape. Our Beautiful Day mystery quilt along is going to be wrapping up, let's see, that is going to wrap up in July. And so I would really like to have everything ready to go to make fabric requirement announcements when Beautiful Day mystery quilt along wraps up. So those are the first two things on my to-do list for June. You guys are getting a little bit more of a peek into my work to-do list rather than just my fun to-do list, which maybe that's interesting for you. Let me know if you kind of like seeing this side of things, or maybe you prefer just seeing just the things that I'm working on for fun for myself. But this is definitely more of a work to-do list this month. Let's see, the next thing, I'm looking at my list down below me here. The next thing that I have is I need to write up patterns for the sew along that comes after this one. I haven't even talked about that, but I need to get those patterns written. That one I've done kind of the reverse of things. I have those blocks already made, but I need to write the patterns now. So it's a little bit of a reverse situation of the Buttercup and Slate fabrics. And so I want to get those patterns written. So that's going to be the next thing. Another thing that I really need to get done is bindings. I feel like there's never going to be a month where I don't have bindings that need done. I have so many quilts that get made over the course of a year that there are always bindings that need to be done. The ones that I want to get done right now, this quilt behind me is one of them. This is my Sun Twist quilt, and it features the white on whites from my Coriander Seeds line, which is going to be coming out very soon. And I have a quilt shop that wants to borrow some of my quilts that use those fabrics. So I want to get those bindings sewn on so that I can get those taken over to that quilt shop when Coriander Seeds is in shops. So this is one of them. And then I have 3 more Coriander Seeds quilts that still need binding. So there will be 4 quilts total that I would like to get bound this month. That's just one a week, and that's very doable. I could even probably get all of those done in one afternoon if I just sat down and really went for it. So that's probably how it's going to go, but that is definitely something I'd like to get done. And then the last thing, I need to sew together my heartfelt quilt blocks. You guys have seen some of these here on the channel, or maybe you've seen them over on my blog, but I have all of the quilt blocks done for this quilt along. I've worked ahead and I have them all done, but I need to go ahead and sew them up into a quilt top. My quilt is going to be auctioned off, I think in September is when it gets auctioned off by Fat Quarter Shop, along with some of the other quilts that were made for this quilt along. And so I need to get mine finished so that it can be quilted and to Fat Quarter Shop by the deadline that they have asked to have the quilts back for. So that is the last item on my list. A little bit of a variety of projects, some quilt tops, some bindings, some pattern writing, just a little bit of everything. And I think that keeps things interesting for me because some days I might feel like pattern writing, other days I might wish I had a little sewing to do. I don't know that I ever sit down and think, boy, I wish I had some bindings to do, but I always have something fun to listen to in the background whenever I am doing binding. So maybe there's a podcast episode or something like that that I am looking forward to listening to. And then I might say, oh yay, I have bindings, because I know that I get to listen to that episode. So maybe that'll happen this month and I will say, yay, I get to do bindings. I'll let you know how that goes. On that note, if you have any podcasts that you recommend that you like listening to, drop those in the comments. I'm always looking for good podcasts to listen to. I like a wide variety of things. So if there's something that you just really enjoy, let me know, and I will see if it's something that I've listened to, and if it's something new and fun, that would be great to add some new podcast series to my listening. I think that's all I have for today. If you have been enjoying stopping by and chatting and visiting my channel, I'd love if you would subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And for sure, leave comments. I love chatting with you guys. It's probably, like I said earlier, my favorite part of doing these videos is just getting to talk with you guys. So thank you so much for visiting, and I will see you guys next time.